Hi, welcome everyone. This is Catherine Mortensen from Americans for Limited Government. I am very excited today to have a very special guest with us, Kathleen Kauth. No, Kauth. I'm going to get it right. Kathleen and I just recently met over the phone. So, Kathleen Kauth is a professional conflict mediator and a business consultant from Omaha, Nebraska. But most recently, and this is what got us together, is she has become at the grassroots level a leader in Nebraska fighting against these COVID vaccine mandates. And Kathleen, you were telling me that you have a son who's in college there at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and you were alarmed to learn what was happening on his campus, and that is what sort of got you involved. So tell me what was happening there, or what is happening there.
So in July, we got this delightful little note from the university saying, hey, we have this new voluntary vaccination registration program whereby we will bribe your children to register the vaccination status. And by bribe, I mean they offered tuition. They offered a free semester of room and board. They offered all these grand prizes that kids can get entered so that they would get their this vaccination and register it. If they did not register a vaccination, they would be forced to get tested weekly for COVID. Now, that is all just part of the mechanism that's put in place for a vaccine passport system. I was very shocked to learn that they have an app called the Safer Communities app, and you can't get more Orwellian than this, that every student, every teacher has to show proof of their medical status every time they want to enter a public space. And this is on a public university campus. So they can't go to classes, they can't go to their dining center, they can't go anywhere without showing their app saying that they've either been tested and are negative for the week, or they are vaccinated and have registered in the program. They have people called wellness advocates at each door checking them in. So this is 1938. This is show me your papers. This is such totalitarianism, and it's not recognized. And the kids I've talked to are like, yeah, they started making us do it at the end of the year. It's not that big of a deal. It's kind of a pain, but like, no, this is not that it's a pain. It's not that it's a inconvenience or not a big convenience. This is a mechanism that is being put into place for authority to have control over your health, and that is not acceptable.
Kathleen, I really like what you're explaining to me. The fact that the reaction from the young people was so different from our reaction. I find that fascinating because I too have children that are college age, and they're kind of the same way. They don't think it's a big deal. And people from our generation are just losing our minds over this. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's okay to have the government, require this and track you with an app. And I mean, it is just inexplicable to me that so many young people are just sort of like you described it. Well, Mom, it's maybe an inconvenience, but it's not that big a deal. I don't think they're really looking at the larger picture as you are trying to point out to them. So, okay, so you had the conversation with your son, and then you didn't stop there. I mean, clearly, like, where did you go next with this? What have been your efforts beyond that?
The first thing we did was we started calling regents. And by we, I mean, we rallied people from across the state. Our regents went from, the first few calls I had with them, they're like, well, we've never really heard anybody say anything bad. And by about the third or fourth week, they were sounding very stressed and frustrated and irritated about the whole thing because we had thousands of phone calls going out to the regents. The regents are the people who are supposed to hire and fire the president and be in charge of the chancellors. I mean, they should be the governing body. Unfortunately, our regents seem to be quite the rubber stamping body because they're like, oh, well, the chancellor put that in place and we support what he does. That is absolutely inexcusable. So then we showed up at a regents meeting and we had 14 people lined up to speak. to address this issue. Now, we showed up on a day when they were also addressing a CRT resolution. So there were many more people there talking about CRT, but we went first and we got our point across. And luckily, there's a lot of media there. Whether or not they actually would report on it is a totally different story. So we considered that the opening salvo. So, now we're going to do it again. The next Regents meeting is October 8th, and we're going to have more people coming to speak. We're putting together a more comprehensive presentation about why is this bad? Why are vaccine passports dangerous? What does that lead us into? And how they're completely and utterly ineffective, especially now knowing that people who get this shot can get sick and transmit illness, and people who get tested can get sick and transmit illness the next day. So, they serve no health purpose. They only serve a purpose for control. So October 8th, we will be speaking to the Regents again, but then to help educate the community, we are going to have a big event on campus, or as close to campus as possible. We're still not sure if we're going to be able to get space. And we've invited Dr. Peter McCullough to come speak about medical. We have 2 attorneys from the Thomas More Society who are going to come speak about the legal aspects of this. We have Stephen Petty, who is the leading industrial hygienist, who's going to come talk about how physics have not changed, politics have changed, masks do not work. And then we want somebody from the media, somebody from TPUSA will be showing up. We're not sure exactly who it's going to be, to talk about how the media has shaped and molded all of this discussion, and that everything you hear is very, very slanted. And that's what these students are hearing. So go ahead.
So that's October 13th, and you sort of have a working title calling it Nebraskans for Freedom, or tell me what.
I'm calling it Fighting for Our Freedoms.
Okay, Fighting for Our Freedoms. But you were indicating that you may have to change that name, because what you're seeing right now is that these social media platforms like Facebook are starting to block and censor and cancel any events with the name freedom in them. Is that?
Yeah. We have a freedom rally coming up September 17th locally with quite a few of our groups. Our groups have done a really good job, our grassroots groups, of collaborating with each other and supporting each other. So we all kind of take different hacks and different things that we're fighting primarily, but then we band together and support each other. Well, Freedom Rally is having a huge day-long event. Bryson Gray, who's a rapper, is going to be coming. They're getting some incredible speakers to come. They were using Eventbrite, and Eventbrite just canceled them.
Wow. And as far as you can tell, it is because
because this is something that appears to violate our terms of service.
Wow. Okay. So then you may actually have to change your name just to.
Right. We might just have to be we're not real sure what we'll do. TPUSA, however, is a great partner. They are going to be the ones who are manning the registration once we get our location.
People who aren't familiar, TPUSA, that's what I've always called them, Turning Point USA.
Yep. Turning Point USA.
Yeah, and that's Charlie Kirk, his group. They're huge. So kudos to you for partnering with them and bringing them on board into your fight there in Nebraska.
And they have been tremendous partners, and they are working very hard to grow their chapters at each campus, because again, kids don't know what they don't know. They don't necessarily have the bandwidth to understand that, okay, freedoms once given up are never, ever recovered. You don't get that back.
Oh my gosh.
So they don't see this as a crisis. They're believing people when they say, oh, this is just for now. It's
right. Kathleen, and what was your reaction to President Biden's address yesterday and his new attempt at new mandates?
Well, he's an idiot and an imbecile and has dementia. And I'm certified in gerontology. I mean, I've known he's had dementia for years. So I wonder who is running our country right now, quite frankly, because it is certainly not him. But it is just another very, very clear indication of the push towards complete communist totalitarianism. They are trying very hard to influence every single aspect of our lives and take control. Once you control people's means of earning a living, you really have people in the crosshairs. So by trying to abuse their authority with businesses and push businesses to do their dirty work for them, they're trying to go around. They very much want to say, I'm in charge, you do what I say, but they know that they really can't. They're trying to, but they can't yet. So they're telling the businesses, you do what I say, and here you go. Now, when he said it about I think about a month ago, when he told Health and Human Services, you're going to make sure that every nursing home employee has a vaccine, or else we'll pull Medicare and Medicaid funding. That is an incredible overreach by using our tax dollars to leverage people and to force them into getting medical treatment that they may or may not want or need. What people don't understand is this is just about the vaccine right now. These are mechanisms that are being put into place. And once they figure out how to make them work well, the next stop, who knows what it's going to be. It could be, well, gosh, people 75 and older take up a disproportionate amount of our healthcare. We have a healthcare shortage now of workers. So we're going to have to cut off healthcare to people 75 and older. And by the way, if you don't, we'll pull your Medicare and Medicaid funding.
And Kathleen, I just to make note of what you're saying, I don't think that is an unrealistic outcome. And I think people of our generation remember tomorrow is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. We have seen our freedom, like what happened after that attack. We created a whole new government cabinet, the Homeland Security and the whole TSA and the security checks that have really been, I think, very burdensome and big government actions. And we were told at the time that, okay, this was an emergency situation to address a crisis. And I think all Americans really, rallied behind that. Like, yeah, absolutely. We're in this fight. We need to protect ourselves and protect ourselves from these terrorists. But now it's 20 years later. And as you said, once they take away your freedoms, they never give them back to you. We have new massive bureaucracy that has come about as a result of those initial actions taken in the days and weeks after the 9/11 attack. And so there's a whole generation of our young people who don't know any different. And as you've said, they're kind of okay with it because they don't know any different.
Right. Which is why we need to wake them up, which is why we need to start educating them on what exactly they can expect and what does our Constitution mean. And, when it says rights that shall not be abridged, that means something. Every single one of our constitutional freedoms are being looked at by the Democrats. They would like to take away all of our guns. If our guns go, we will be Australia very, very quickly. They want to curtail our freedom of speech. Unless it's what they want to hear, that's what they want to curtail. Now with, trying to restrict our movement, how do you restrict someone's movement in a free country? Well, you can't. And if you do, then that means it's no longer a free country. And so we need people to wake up. Now, my son, who is the gentleman at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, is actually a 9/11 baby, and he is going into the military. So we have concerns on a whole bunch of levels, and getting them to understand that you're going to be fighting for things. You have to know what you're fighting for and be willing to really stand up, even if it is against the popular narrative. You have to be able to stand up. People want comfort. People want things to be easy, and things have been very comfortable for a while. And we have to learn to deal with discomfort and be okay with it.
So I appreciate your message, Kathleen. And I'm running at the bottom of this screen here, your contact information. So if anyone in Nebraska or anywhere in the country wants to learn more about what Kathleen is doing to fight back against these COVID mandates and passports, her email address is there. And she's invited anyone to reach out to her to get information. And the reason she's actually giving you her email address as opposed to a website is because it sounds like you're still sort of haven't determined an actual name for the event because you're concerned that these social media and woke companies are canceling out events with the name freedom in it. So right now, the word freedom is in the name, but it's sort of a working title because they don't want to get targeted. She Kathleen explained earlier that Eventbrite, a popular app and a company that helps you promote your organizations and events, is canceling out events such as theirs. So there's that to worry about, right? The whole woke culture, the cancel culture. So at Americans for Limited Government, we have sent over the last 2 or 3 months, we started a campaign in which we asked our supporters to send an email to their elected officials at the local, the state, and the federal level, asking them or urging them to oppose these COVID vaccine mandates and passports. And in the last 2 or 3 months, we have had more than 1 million emails go out to elected officials. So we know that people are angry and people are looking for a way to get involved. And so what you're doing, Kathleen, is fabulous because, we sit home, we watch the news, we listen, we're reading, we read the stories on our phones, and we just get so mad and we don't always know where to go with that anger. So I appreciate so much what you're doing. So
I want to stress to people that, and I've had a couple people say, well, is this a big deal? Should you be tackling a bigger issue? You tackle the issue that's in front of you. You see something and that's what you need to go after. Don't worry if it's the most important issue or, you need to see whatever is happening in front of you and go after that, because every small stance, it's like building something with Legos. You have to have every little Lego and you have to put them in pieces and build on them. So every little piece helps. So I would encourage people to look around your community. If someone is saying, well, this hospital won't let you in without a vaccine, boycott that hospital, have a protest. If companies start saying, well, all of our employees have to be mandated, encourage boycotts of that business or call and protest. Do something in your immediate area. Doing it locally is the most critical thing that you can do.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And what you just said reminded me of what I've been hearing from others who are like-minded, that this is not going to end until enough Americans wake up and say it's over. I refuse to comply with your mandates and restrictions and lockdowns. And I think exactly what you said, it's going to take each one of us in our own communities where we live and work to push back against all this. So is there anything else you want to add that I haven't asked you about?
No, I don't think so. I so appreciate you guys. I did the little email to my thing. Your system was really easy to use. So I so appreciate that. And I've been spreading that to people quite a bit to get on there and use it. But make sure you're holding your elected officials accountable and do it in a way that makes them know that you're going to vote against them or support financially their opponents in any upcoming elections. We have a problem with wanting to be friends with our representatives or want their approval for some reason. They work for us. And if they are not standing up and being very loud about this, if they are holding on to their political capital for their next election or their next position, we need to demand that they use every single thing at their disposal to fight these kinds of mandates. The fight is right now. There is no fight later. The fight is now.
Thank you, Kathleen. And as Kathleen indicated, at the bottom of the screen right now, you can see the website, getliberty.org. That's for Americans for Limited Government. And right there on the homepage, you can click the Take Action button to send an email to your lawmakers. And I appreciate that you did that, Kathleen. I think it's making a difference.
Yes.
But we just, like you said, just need to stay in this fight. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to the ticker down below that has Kathleen's contact information. If you're interested in getting involved with what Kathleen is doing in Nebraska, she is giving out her email address, which is on the screen there. And we're just very grateful that you are such a fighter. And I think that as more Americans wake up and join this fight, we will be able to restore our freedoms and hold our elected officials accountable. So thank you very much, Kathleen. And thanks to all of you for what you're doing to be a part of this fight. We know that you're angry and we feel that. We're with you. And let's do what we can, each one of us in our own ways, in our own communities. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Catherine.